Hey there, true listeners. This is Kyle from the Longbox Cast, and you're listening to another great 4-Eyed Radio podcast. For more great shows, check out 4Eyedradio.com. And while you're at it, check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/longboxcast. Greetings, true listeners. It is our 50th episode. That's right, we finally made it to 50 episodes. And I know what you're saying. This is a weekly podcast. How have we been on longer than a year and only have 50 episodes? That's because we're lazy and we took breaks. So, anyways, we have very special guests. They are a husband and wife self-publishing duo, Comfort Love and Adam Withers. So we will be talking with them a little bit. We got a few other news stuff about Marvel and DC, like the fact that I'm actually in favor of DC right now instead of Marvel. I know that never happens. So, anyways, let the theme song play.
Oh, did you think it was over? But no, here's the theme song, don't you know? It's for Matt Murdock, who's Daredevil. He's blind like a bat, but we don't know. He can pick up things, he can throw things, and everyone's like, who's the man in the mask? But he's the guy that does the job, and if he doesn't, he will sue you back. Oh yeah, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, coming at you live, don't you know? He's got a friend named Foggy O, and everybody knows it's a Matt Murdock show.
All right, here we are.
You're not splicing in my Daredevil theme song into this one again, are you?
I may.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, because it was just that awesome. To listen to the show, you can find us on 4Eyedradio.com, Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, Zune Marketplace, BlackBerry Podcasts, Blueberry Podcasts, Miro Guide, Double Twist, YouTube, Swell Radio, SoundCloud, and Player FM. We are brought to you by Revenge Lover Designs, illustration and design that fit your personality. For samples and inquiries, visit RevengeLover.com. We're also brought to you by Fantasy Escape, comics, cards, and collectibles. You can find them in your Virginia Beach area or find them online at FantasyEscape.com. Also, check out their eBay account. Just look for the user ID 50Batman. It's 50BATMAN. And as you know, we are also proud supporters of Comic Care Comics. If you have any old comic books that you just don't know what to do with anymore because they're not worth anything on eBay, give them to someone who will cherish them and love them. Just send them on down to Comic Care Comics, and they will give them to kids who will love them, for sure. You can check them out at comiccare.org. That's COMICARE. There's one C between the two, so remember that. All right, so joining us today, we have Comfort Love and Adam Withers. They are a 6-time Harvey Award-nominated husband and wife action faction. Their words I stole from their DeviantArt page. They are a self-publishing duo who write, draw, color, and letter together every comic they produce. Their two big stories are The Uniques and Rainbow in the Dark. They are also releasing the Complete Guide to Self-Publishing Comics, which you can pre-order on Amazon, discount comic book services, or your local comic book store. The book comes out May 19th.
Actually, if you can get it through Amazon, you go to the sociallyawkward.com page, click on the Amazon banner, and you help support these two fine people, and you also help give back to the show, and no one loses money. It's a win-win for everybody.
There you go.
That sounds fantastic.
So,
I'm very much in favor of that.
So, Comfort, Adam, how have you guys been?
We've been very good, working hard, getting ready for the release of the book. Actually, I think probably most people will just be buying it, through Amazon outright and getting it at bookstores and stuff and comic book stores because May 19th is coming out. It's a week from tomorrow?
Oh, wow, that's fast.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Time goes faster all the time.
It does. Oh, getting older.
The Righteous Brothers were full of crap.
So, I'm trying to see here. It's been a while since we've talked, so I know I haven't seen you guys at a convention in a while.
Well, that's because they're hard at work.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
we've been conning it up like crazy. It's just Kyle doesn't go where we are.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, then I blame Kyle for not, look, I'm the lazy one. There's a reason why I don't do things I'm supposed to do. In fact, I'm drinking right now because I'm an alcoholic. We've already been over this. But Kyle, you're sober, you got your life on track, you have a wife, you should be doing things like this. If I'm not face down in a puddle of my own pride by the end of the day, there's a problem then.
Well, you see, you said it yourself, I'm married, and as we all know, I'm trying to find a house, so I really can't be spending as much money to go to conventions and whatnot.
I'm just hearing
Being a
excuses.
responsible young man.
Yes, yeah, trying to be a responsible young man.
You're the same responsible young man that we met back, in like 2008. And I want to say, did we meet you first or your uncle first?
You guys met Brian first, I believe.
Okay. And he was like, my nephew really loves Deadpool. Like, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, do you guys like Deadpool? And I was like, I like Deadpool. And we drew you a picture, and everything started. And you were a young guy back then.
Yes, it was '08, and I had the picture right here.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. I know Kyle's already threatened to steal the Deadpool poster I just put up in my apartment, so.
Cool,
Yeah, one of these days.
Someday we'll have to redo that and do it then me, now me.
Ooh, oh, you know what? That'd be kind of a cool, thing, and then Kyle will be like, look at me, I got artwork, you don't, haha. So that's what he usually does. Especially the homeless people, he's kind of mean.
Your impression is uncanny.
If you want to hear impressions, you should hear some of his other stuff, like Adam West.
Quickly, old chums, we are interviewing two comic book fans.
Nicely done.
So you were. I was transported. It was as if the clock turned back and I was sitting here in 1966.
Well, thank you. I try to do that because I realize how horrible my life is. I realized 1966 was a better time before I was born.
Before we were all born.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's what I'm curious about. You're talking to Kyle, and I know Kyle's younger than I am, and I'm really worried to hear how old you guys are.
Oh, well, we're old enough. We're old enough. I am 34.
I am 33.
Yep, going to be 34 soon, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, now I don't feel so bad.
No, you don't feel so bad. We're very beginning of millennials, and you guys are slightly into millennial territory.
Well, I've been heard I can play still a teenager on the CW, so
That's all that counts.
that's what I was like. They should have given Arrow to me, but they didn't.
I don't know you well. I'm just going to come out on a limb and say they made the right choice.
Hey, it was one Steven over another.
Stephen Amell is a charming motherfucker. He knows what he's doing and has really brought a level of fan connection to that part. I don't know. He's a great ambassador.
Although I'm sure this Steven could be also a lovely Arrow, if not a different flavor of Arrow.
Here's what it comes down to. How many of those ratcheted pull-ups can you do?
I can do 0. In fact, if they actually wanted to cast me as anybody in the DC universe, it would probably be Plastic Man.
Ah.
I could see that.
Yeah. I could join the Adams phenomenal team and not care.
Yes, the DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
And just keep making fun of, be like, hey, you're kind of like Iron Man. You ever heard of Iron Man?
Yeah, I keep waiting to see how they work if they work in the size changing at all.
I know, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm like, what's going on here?
They're teasing it. They tease you every now and then with certain lines that he'll just casually toss off.
Mm-hmm.
And the shrinking nanobots that were injected into his bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
But
we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't used people haven't used lines with him, be like, hey, don't get short with me. Are you trying to be the bigger man?
Oh, my.
Yeah, I wrote these down. I was actually going to be a head writer on the CW, but I don't know why. Didn't work out.
I wonder that they skipped you over.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Also, something about I broke into the lot and wasn't supposed to be here, and where's my badge, and put some pants on, the usual.
Like you do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it also has to do with the fact you haven't seen Arrow.
I'm working on it, okay? But anyways, Kyle, so what question? Do you have questions for our lovely guests on? Because I feel bad. I'm just like rambling. I didn't know if you're actually looking for stuff. I was trying to not have dead time.
No, you're fine. Rambling's always fun. If you go to the show notes, I put some questions down at the bottom.
There we go. I need to really actually do my job for once.
Well, so first question I want to ask: what made you guys decide to be self-publishers?
Oh,
At
a long
first-
process.
At first, it was really just because we didn't feel like we had another option. We showed our portfolio around. We did the editorial dance like a lot of people do. You go to cons. We had a lot of sit downs with different people.
And the feedback would usually be similar.
Yeah.
And it would be like, we love you. Your artwork is fantastic. But your women aren't sexy enough.
Well, we get that a little every now and then.
A little bit, especially
our women look
from
too much
Top
like
Cow.
real people,
Yep.
and our stuff is too cartoony. And I like you, but I'd never be able to sell you to my boss. Our fans would never like you. That's something we got from a guy at Marvel. We had some.
And our teenagers looked like teenagers.
Yeah, we had some
Yep.
Ultimate X-Men pages in our portfolio that we were showing, and the guy was confused as to why Iceman and Rogue looked like they were 15 years old, and the response was, well, because in Ultimate X-Men they're 15 years old, and that's how they're supposed to look. And it was, yeah, X-Men fans would never like you. I like you. I think you're great. I'd love to read a comic with this stuff, but X-Men fans would never read you. And
Which is... Oh, sorry, I was about to say, which is really funny, because to me, I love that kind of cartoony style. I always like artwork that's always outside of the box and not like everything looks exactly the same. It's like, oh, this is Rogue and looks exactly like the other Rogue. Like I kind of like when artists put their own flavor to things, basically.
Well, we were selling a lot of art at the time, so we knew that there were a lot of people who liked what we were putting down. I mean, in the end, really what it came down to was they're not going to recognize that we can make comics until we show them. So we're going to have to do this ourselves long enough to prove that we can do this, to prove that there's a market for the kind of stuff we like to do.
Well, and not just that. I think the other thing is, too, that, we wanted to do more what we wanted to do. Like, we didn't want to be the people that had to make all of our teenagers look like they were 35.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't want to be those people that, had to draw huge boobs on everybody just as a matter of course.
Which
huge boobs are great, but just you have to find the characters in which the boobs can be fantastically proportioned and when they're not.
We could have changed our style.
We could
to
have
try
been
and
different
match
people.
what they were looking for, but we didn't want to because we like how we draw,
Right.
and we know that there are people who like how we draw. So, since we had always wanted to do our own stuff at some point anyway, we just decided, well, I guess we're going to have to start that first. And maybe if we can get enough success doing our own stuff, then down the line we can make a bigger name on something else. And within a couple years, we'd had enough success self-publishing that we started wondering why we would want to work for somebody else, because we get to tell exactly the stories we want to tell, and we get to do it in exactly the way we want to do it. And frankly, publishers don't do a whole lot for you these days anyway. I mean, the hubbub today about Archie going to Kickstarter for their new series. Apparently a publisher doesn't even want to have to pay to publish books. All they do is
They own a property.
they own IP.
Yep.
And they take a cut. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, why not self-publish? It's never been cheaper to self-publish than it is today. It's never been easier to put out your own book, whether digitally or in paper.
It's never
build
been
an
easier to
audience.
find your own fan base.
Yeah.
And to do things that can be truly great.
It's the golden age of the self-publisher right now, and we didn't realize it until we had to do it. And so since we've been finding out about this, we've tried to become more of, we want to be proponents for this, very vocal proponents for, you don't need some publisher's permission to make comics. Just get out and do it.
No, and I totally agree with that, because there's so many things that I see, like some companies, even like well-known companies, are now doing like the Kickstarter, and it's all like, why are you doing this? And it's just because I feel that a lot of people are doing it because either whatever they're working for, even like if they're in with a company and they want to do something, the company's like, no, we have a schedule, this is what we have to do. So like that's why I've always been on board with people who do like web comics, are able to do the content themselves, and they get to pretty much have the freedom that they want, and you do get that feedback from your fans directly. Like, it's not like if I were to call, Marvel up, I have to go through so many channels to just get to, if I'm lucky, to get to Stan Lee's, secretary.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's a very different issue when a creator goes to crowdfunding to get support for something they're doing, because it is rare that creators are making anything like the kind of money you might think they would, even on extremely successful books. You've got the rare Robert Kirkmans out there, but for the most part, even extremely successful, like critical darling books, don't necessarily pay extremely well.
And to be fair, Robert Kirkman is making that Robert Kirkman money in part because of the property that they sold,
because of the
TV
tie-ins.
shows. Right, exactly.
It's TV that made him the money. We're doing a side freelance gig right now, and it's, for a larger company, and it's just some little side thing we're doing, and it's, it's a small amount of work that we do in off hours, and it's paying twice as much as we would make on a gig, and it's for much simpler work. Comics don't pay very well. So if you're a creator and you want to go to your fans to get some support, that makes perfect sense to me, even if your book happens to be an Image title, because Image isn't paying you. Not really. You make money on the back end if the book sells.
Right. If the book sells enough, and then after Image is cut, then you get a certain
the money,
amount of
you've
money.
got to disseminate that
Right,
amongst
and
your
that's,
team.
I think, another thing too is, it's not just, to self-publish is not just because, well, I want to do my own thing, and that definitely might be part of it, but there's several different layers. You're in a situation where even if you want to work for a publisher, usually they expect you to be self-published. And then there's the financial thing of sometimes self-publishing, because you're not paying a whole lot of different people, you're just mostly paying yourself.
Right.
Can
You
make
don't-
more money.
You don't have to deal with the middlemen. We don't have to have the kind of success that a Spider-Man book has in order to make the kind of money that some of those creators are getting, because we've got nobody else we have to pay but us, because we did it all. And there is a lot more work that goes into self-publishing.
And there's a
certainly.
lot of time, too, that it takes
Tons of
to
time.
build it up. We've been doing this since 2008.
And a lot of risk, too,
Right.
because we had to, in order to really make it as in comics, you have to be putting stuff out regularly. And in order to release comics on anything like a steady schedule, it kind of has to be your full-time job. Writers can get away with doing a lot more work in their side time, but for an artist,
Or even a writer-artist.
even writer artists
Sure.
like us, to draw comics takes a lot of time. And so if you're going to put something out, it's got to be all you do. And for it to be all you do, you can't have other work on the side, not for quite a while, So there is a lot of risk involved in doing this. But at the same time, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is there is a tremendous amount of risk in virtually any job in comics.
Or any job overall.
Well, yeah, increasingly, yeah.
Increasingly.
There's increasingly little job security in anything right now. So, if you're going to roll those dice, if you're going to take that kind of risk,
Take
would
a
you
risk
rather
on
do it?
something you love.
Yeah.
No, and that is very true. Like, anybody who's passionate about something and they're always like, they're not sure what they want to do, but there's this one thing I always tell them, like, go for it. It's a big thing. You just can't sit around and expect something to happen. I'm like, if you try it and you fail, it's known to happen. But at least you tried it, because if you don't try it, then you just sit there and keep thinking like, oh, one of these days I'm going to finally write that screenplay, or I'm going to finally draw that comic, or I'm going to finally make that, cocaine empire like in Scarface. But I mean, whatever your dreams are, just go for them.
Yeah.
Dreams are dreams.
Or at some point you cross the line somewhere and suddenly you go from thinking someday it'll be me to thinking it could have been me if only.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so many cool things. So, what? Let's see what Kyle wrote down for. So, yeah, how did you guys come up with the ideas for your comics? Did you guys like? Do you guys like base it off of anything, or was there anything that inspired you, or was this just like something that you've always had like creative in your mind that you're like, I need to put this down either on paper, on computer, or something. I need to get this out.
Yes.
Best answer ever.
All of the above. When you are creating stories, you're influenced by a ton of things. Everything you see becomes an influence. All the people you know influence you in some way or another. All the things you've read, the artists we've looked at have influenced how we draw, and the writers we've read. So, yeah, there were a lot of outside influences, and at the same time, these are a lot of things. Especially with Uniques, these are stories and characters that we've tossed around in our heads for decades.
Years.
Comfort had the initial idea for what would become Uniques when she was 12.
Yep, a long
wow.
time ago. And so, but part of the point is, I think, even in saying that, when I was 12, I came up with this idea. It takes a long time for these things to come into fruition. I might have come up with the idea at 12 and then really be getting more into the meat of like trying to put it together when I was in high school, and then in college do little stories, and then even outside of college start doing more stories and a little bit longer stories. But it wasn't until 2008 when we were 26 and 27 or something like that that we actually started putting together and making something out of it. Not till then did we start releasing that as an actual comic. And so whatever it is, it takes time. And I think Uniques is inspired by a lot of the stuff that we read with superheroes and stuff growing up, and then a lot of the things that we felt like superheroes could be and what they could represent in society.
There was a lot of Uniques that comes from, and continues to come from, getting tired of waiting for somebody else to make the superhero story we want to read. So let's just take all those things we've been waiting to see and do them ourselves. The two biggest things that superhero comics shy away from the most are growth and change. Because at the end of the day, certainly for the big two, they're not as concerned with creating stories as they are with maintaining copyrights and managing IP. And in order to do that, it's always got to be Bruce Wayne underneath that cowl.
Even though it could be Dick Grayson for a short amount of time.
Yeah, but
Bruce Wayne's always got to come back.
We got to maintain that trademark. We got to keep that copyright. We got to keep.
We need to sell those underoos
Yes.
above all else.
Right, and the sale of underoos and various merchandise, the sale of birthday party plates are more valuable to them than the stories they can tell. So things can't change. They can't grow. No matter how, and that's why you get comics stuck in a perpetual second act, where we had the origin and we are now just continually complicating things, but we can never allow there to come any sort of closure, not in a serious way, because we've got to keep putting these things out, and we can't let these characters move on.
Right. So when we started doing Uniques, we knew that one of our goals was really to have growth and change, so we could take characters who were in their teens when the story starts, and then by the end of the series, they are in their 40s and 50s as the world itself ends around them.
Even the choice of doing teenagers is itself reflective of that idea, because it's that point in your life when you're going through the most change the fastest. You're deciding huge things about your life, who you want to be, which is such a simple question, but it's such a complicated answer. Who do I want to be when I grow up? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live?
Sacrifices and compromises am I willing to make in order to be that person who I believe, who I think I want to be?
And what do I refuse to compromise? You're never more idealistic than when you're a teenager. You're never more wide-eyed than when you're a teenager, because life beats you down, man. Life kicks the shit out of you over and over again. And it is a constant test of, can you hold on to the person that you wanted to be or will you give in? And what
And
are
that
the consequences of those choices?
is itself sort of the story, all wrapped up in how the world itself would change
Yeah.
if superpowers were a part of our society.
Sure, and that's another thing that's the perpetual second act, is we're always telling the story of the emergence of superpowered characters, and then the world just doesn't know how to deal with it. It's the world that hates and fears them over and over and over. To the extent that even Superman movies now have to be about a world that hates and fears him. We're not allowed to tell a story where things normalize. But such is the nature of society. Over time, things become normal. Over time, these powers become normal. So instead of doing a story where these characters are just showing up, we're doing a story that's starting in the third act. We've already had the first emergence of superheroes in the Unique's world. That happened in the 30s. We've already had the world that hates and fears them. We had the civil rights fight. That happened in the 70s and the 80s. We almost had Armageddon in the 80s as the Cold War went fucking crazy. And now we are settling into normal, where if you've got electric powers, you're far more likely to just go work for the power company than to put on a mask and risk your life every day, either to steal money or to protect people. Either way, you want a normal life. And society has found a way to use these people because, frankly, they're way more useful to society than they are threatening.
So within that world, who are the people who would do the act of being superheroes, and why would they do it?
And again, it comes back to teenagers.
Right.
Because who is more idealistic? Who is more, wanting to stand for something big? It's as adults, a lot of the superheroes are essentially firefighters, but as kids, man, they mean it.
Right. And so that is where we begin the story that we're trying to tell with Uniques. Man, you guys ask a small question, you get a huge answer.
No. That is phenomenal because, believe me, there's sometimes you'll ask a question, they'll be like, I got bored one day and did a doodle, boom, superhero, Actually, I really like this idea already. This is very in-depth. There's actually something, because you say that, like I always had this question. I don't know if anybody's done it yet. I know I told Kyle about it. He kind of touched upon it with a little bit of the concept of the Incredibles, but I made a joke where it was like I always wanted to create like a web comic or a comic book or something like that is like an insurance company that has to deal with the fallout of superheroes.
Yeah,
basically,
that's definitely one of the things.
Okay, because that was like a thing. I was like, has anybody ever done this? I was just thinking about that. It's like basically like everything crashes through, destroys the building. The guy's all like, well, you didn't have superhero insurance. The guy's like, and like a guy has to actually go to all these things and do claims and get names and stuff like that.
I feel like you should, first of all, make that comic. Because it'd be fantastic. But yeah, like just in the world, like we think about that kind of stuff all the time.
It's one of the driving things behind Uniques is the two things we like doing maybe the most is finding the mundane side of the fantastical and the fantastic side of the mundane. Taking normal things and seeing what's really special about them and finding the really just crazy off-the-wall fantasy stuff and showing the normal side of that. It's a way of looking at it that you wouldn't think about, but really that's going to be the majority of somebody's life. Like the comic, most of the story is about these kids just being people. They're human beings who happen to be superheroes. It's about their relationships, about their friendships. We have a whole issue that's them going bowling. And
superhero fights too, but
sure,
also bowling.
Absolutely, but it's the totality of a life. They have a board game night.
But that would be the thing I would like to see though, is like them get together like to do a bowling night, but then they all start bowling like normal, but then they'd be like, let's throw some powers into this and see who could do like better and stuff like that. To me, that's like how teenagers would think if they had superpowers,
Yeah, they're actually very, very strict about
there's
the
one
sanctity of
character
bowling.
Who's very strict, and so it's also the rules too that we place on ourselves in a society where when you can destroy everything, when are you allowed to destroy that stuff?
Yeah.
And when are you not allowed to destroy that stuff? Like even in watching the Superman movie, the most recent Superman movie, and seeing the destruction of Metropolis, we were like, you can't necessarily have this happen over and over again and have society actually deal with you.
How many times has Marvel blown up New York for something or other, you know? How many times can society put up with this? This is one of the things that we're really interested in. Another thing is the legal issues. How does a legal structure, a political structure, deal with superpowers? And it's something that, you know, we saw them pretending like they were going to deal with in Civil War, but mostly it was, you know, one side had a valid point, but they were assholes, so we didn't like them, and that was the whole thing. Like, well, on this side, they have a valid argument. And on the other side, they have Captain America, and they have the fact that Iron Man's being a jerk. So that's we call this a debate. Mostly it's just an excuse to see heroes fighting each other. We wanted to really get into that, though, because, you know, if we live in a society where you have to go through a waiting period and a background check to get a firearm, or, you know, some level of, you know, checking to see if you can be allowed to have a weapon that's lethal, if you have to go through school and training to get a badge and be a police officer, why is it that you can just put on a mask and shoot lasers out of your eyes because you say that's the bad guy? You know, why is society going to allow that to be the case?
Especially if the society has a need for more than a few of those.
Right.
You know, and then what sets up a structure that then allows superheroes to really, for a long term, for years, if you're talking from the 30s to the 90s when the story starts and every issue goes forward in time, if you're talking that long, society has had to figure out how to deal with, manage, and maintain that concept without going insane.
Because if they couldn't, yeah, everything would just fall to pieces.
Yep.
People are born with powers in the Uniques. It's not like, you know, a bomb went off and now I turn into a monster, or, you know, no aliens, none of that stuff. They're just born with it. And that means that it's something society has to address because these people can't help how they're born. And it did lead to a long time of struggle, but ultimately, you know, they're humans like the rest of us. It's a Second Amendment issue. You know, you have the right to bear arms. Okay, well, if those arms happen to be laser fingers, then you have a right to that too, provided you're not going around hurting anybody. Provided, you know, if you want to use your powers to fight crime, then you have to get licensed. You have to get registered. You have to prove to somebody that you are good enough at this, and you have to reveal your identity to somebody so that you can actually sit on in a defendant stand. You have to be able to go to trial and be a witness to what you've seen.
And for those who choose not to go that path, those who choose to live outside society, what is their lives like?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of different ways and aspects that you can look at things even through the lens of superheroes and superpowers. You know, you can even do, you know, we have another sort of subset of Unique's Tales, which is just
an anthology
random
series that's other creators doing stories in the Unique's universe.
And what's great about that is that there's sometimes where you can even do like small stories where it's just like, what would you do with people who have superpowers who are now elderly and cannot necessarily control these powers? You know, what is an old folks' home like with that, and how do we, as people reading comics, connect to that, because we all have grandparents, and then how do we explore that societal situation?
He has the power to spontaneously combust, and now he's going senile. What do you do?
Oh, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I was just about to ask about all that kind of stuff with the, who goes on the villain path. Those, like, you know, the guys who drop out, those are like the rebels, you know, they're like, I don't want to do with school.
Every society has their assholes. The people who just want to take an easy path and feel like they're owed something, and they would rather take it than you know, earn it the way the rest of us have to. And those guys are, sure, if they happen to be born with powers, then you're going to have trouble.
Not just that, we also have like a situation where if you kept, like, again, in Uniques we look at things that have actually happened in our society. And that's partly why we started in the 90s. So we can always be looking at time and what's happening today and contemplate it and then add it to the story as the story catches up with, say like the year 2000 or whatever.
Oh, very cool. So I also like that idea too with the elderly, like, superheroes, like they go into a retirement home, but then it's true, like, what if they do have dementia, or what if they do have, a disease, like they forget, they don't know, like they could wake up, in bed not knowing who they are, and all of a sudden, like their powers, is
Exactly. What do you do with the aging, right? What do you do with, like, we have 3 countrymen, which is our sort of pseudo Captain America, who's a background side character. But there's been a golden age, a silver age, and there's a modern age. And that golden age guy who's aging, and we love him, but maybe, it's his time to die, but we're keeping him alive, but he's also got powers. And how do we deal with that? And then returning PTSD and all those kinds of things, that can be fascinating to do within a superhero world. So Uniques is about a world as much as anything.
That's why we called it the Uniques, because in this world, Uniques is the name given to people born with powers. And we didn't want to name it after any particular character or the main team of characters, because it's about the world. It's seen through the eyes of these 7 characters as they're growing up and, the course of their lives from their teenage years into their 50s. But it's about the whole world around them and their part in it and how it affects them, how they affect it, and how we're all on this big blue marble together.
Well, I'm on board with this. Like, I think this is a fascinating idea. There's a lot of stuff that you guys have, like, just told me about that I'm just like, already, like, I'm like, okay, where can I find these issues? I'm going to start buying some of these things, because this is a bunch of stuff that, like, in my head, I always think about, like, what do they do with this kind of stuff? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk about it, because people be like, well, shut up, man. It doesn't matter what happens to the old people. It's like Spider-Man's around, so let him do his thing,
Yeah. This is a comic made by people who love analyzing the hell out of things.
Oh, thank God. I've finally been waiting for that.
Whenever somebody says to me, like, yo, you just got to shut your brain off and enjoy it. Why do you got to ruin everything by it? I'm like, well, it's not fun for me if I have to shut my brain off. I can't enjoy it if I shut my brain off.
I even enjoy silly, crazy, almost bullshitty things.
Sure, yeah. The over-the-top can be fun. But,
I love it.
If it's not possible for me to enjoy it with my brain activated, then I'm not going to enjoy it.
Right, and nothing has to be super intellectual.
No.
It just has to be like, oh, I didn't think of that, or oh, how delightfully was that done?
No, like Walk Hard is one of my favorite movies, so obviously I don't allow entertainment in order to have fun. I could watch Anchorman every week, and I would still lose my butt laughing.
Okay.
I watch it. So it's not like it's got to be highbrow entertainment. I'm just saying I like to think about things. We both like to think about things.
And you guys like to think about things.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, I'm always overanalyzing stuff. I mean, I even poke holes in even in like cartoon shows such as like The American Dad, The Family Guy, or like the storyline or the timeline, or they messed this up, and people look at me like, why? Can't you just watch a show? I'm like, I can watch it and enjoy it, but I will find flaws and stuff because I have like this like weird like mindset where I'm always trying to be like something like, especially with the Man of Steel movie came out. Like I had this idea like a while ago when the Man of Steel movie came out. I was all like, imagine if there was an insurance company that had to deal with that. And people were looking at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, literally, if people are like, well, he's the first of their kind, no one even planned for this, the insurance company would be like raping everybody for like money off of this thing, just going like, well, it's an alien attack. You don't have coverage for that.
It's not under your coverage.
Yeah, we don't cover it. I mean, if it was an act of God, we totally cover it. But this was an alien. He totally came out and said he was an alien. So if he came out and said it was Jesus, you would have been fine. But
right. That would have been act of God, sure. But aliens aren't God. In fact,
aliens aren't God. We didn't even know they existed.
We're going to use Aliens as a loophole to get rid of our Act of God coverage because
Exactly, you know.
Aliens weren't in the Bible, so let's just forget the whole thing.
And then I was just thinking, like, you know, there's insurance companies, like, stuff would happen. They'd be like, well, you're covered under Superman, but this was a Green Lantern incident.
Yeah.
You don't have that coverage.
Don't
If
have
you would have bought,
coverage.
if you would have bought the Justice League package, you would have been covered. But
No, I know that you spent extra for crisis coverage, but since this was never officially declared a crisis, it's not covered. Sorry. It has to be officially declared a crisis by company law, otherwise it's not on.
okay, well, I'm so glad you guys think outside the box as much as I do. So already you just earned another fan of this book. I'm definitely going to start reading this and start telling everybody about it. And if no one likes it, then I'm going to start stabbing them.
Well, we do not condone stabbings.
Oh, okay. All right, harsh words. How about that?
Harsh words. Harsh
I
words,
can't-
yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay.
I
But
can
do
dig
it
on
in
that.
person, not online. There's plenty of harsh words online already.
Yeah, I know. Just go to Reddit.
Their face.
Let's make the internet a slightly safer place, shall we?
I don't know if we can. I think we'd have to go back to the dial-up AOL days.
Oh my God, no. As somebody who was on the DC forums when they drove Hal Jordan crazy and replaced him with Kyle Rayner, I can tell you the internet has never been a safe place for reasonable discourse. Never. Oh my good Lord. I was a child at the time, and I knew something is wrong with this. People are way too freaked out and angry about a fictional character. And Green Lantern was my favorite character, but people were like making threats. It was mean. It was mean.
Oh, wow. Actually, that's kind of surprising that Green Lantern. So, what is your favorite Green Lantern then?
My favorite Green Lantern is Kyle, but honestly, my favorite Green Lantern is the concept of Green Lantern. I started reading Green Lantern in the 80s when I was a little kid, when it was the Green Lantern Corps, and it was 6 or 7 Green Lanterns living together in a mansion in California because the rest of the Corps had been disbanded. Oa had been destroyed. There was no central battery.
He was reading the real world
Kind of, yeah. It
of
sort
Green
of was.
Lanterns.
Because you had Hal, John, and Guy. You had Erasia. You had Katmatui, Salak, Kilowog, Chip. And they were just trying to hold it together because everybody else had left. And there were only so many working rings left. And so for me, the concept of Green Lantern has always been about a group of people. It has always been about a team aspect. It was never about one person for me. So maybe that's why I had an easier time when they transitioned from Hal to Kyle, because Green Lantern's a title, it's not a person.
No, and that's actually a great concept. And actually, I was very surprised, like when you mentioned Guy. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Batman: Brave and the Bold, but they actually use Guy Green Lantern opposed to all the other well-known Green Lanterns.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great pull for that.
And a good pull for that series too, because of the lighthearted nature.
Yeah.
Like I told people, like when I first watched that, I was kind of like, oh man, but then you gotta really take it for what it is, and if you just realize it that what it is making kind of almost fun of like that campy Batman-ness, like you can really enjoy that show.
It was just a weird time for them to choose to go that direction.
It was an unfortunate time where you had two people. You have one property, which is Batman, and somebody's making Batman Brave and the Bold, which is the happiest, funnest Batman.
Smiley's Fun Time Batman, where he
Super
puts on
Bruce
a
Wayne.
giant dome helmet and flies out into space to stop a meteor.
Bam! And then maybe like peripherally, we kind of know that at the same time we're going to get this thing called Dark Knight. We're not sure how it's going to be, but it will release.
I think they came out in the same year.
It came out in the
Or
same
within
year.
a year of each other.
That show or movie came out in the summertime.
And
then
the
the
Bold launched
right.
in the fall.
And then unfortunately you had that situation where you had lots of kids who would also be their target demo who were like 10, who their parents, and I don't know why, but they did, brought them to Dark Knight. And so they were like, that's not Batman.
Yeah, all the parents were like, I can understand this Batman. What the hell's up with this?
Yeah. Well, you've also got, it's a weird time we're living in right now, man. The internet has changed everything about how we can get entertainment,
Right.
about how we get information. You know, we were teachers for a lot of years and still are now part-time. And I remember there was a conversation between a bunch of students, and these are like 12-year-old kids, arguing over which Spider-Man was the best Spider-Man because they're watching like 3 different of the cartoons. The early 90s one, the Spectacular Spider-Man was out at the time, and then there's the movie Spider-Man, and they're like, which one's the real Spider-Man? Which one is the better version? And these are 12-year-old kids who were watching the
They
92
were also
Spider-Man.
not
for
just
God's sake.
92 Spider-Man. They were also watching Spider-Man. What was it when he was with Firestar?
Oh, Amazing Friends.
And
Yeah.
Amazing Friends.
Because it's all online. You can get any of it at any
That's
time.
right.
So if you're a 12-year-old kid who likes Spider-Man, you have a wealth of Spidey stuff you can find online anywhere. So what Marvel dictates to you, like Marvel wants you to watch Ultimate Spider-Man. They want that to be your Spidey, but you can certainly choose not to. You can be a 12-year-old kid giving DC the middle finger about Brave and the Bold because your Batman is, you know, the Bruce Timm Batman or Dark Knight or whatever. They can't. There's no funnel anymore. You know, they can't just pour all their entertainment into this one funnel and force you to drink from the same stream. You choose where you.
That is very true. And actually, there's actually the Spider-Man that was very short-lived, but it was actually on MTV for a short time. Was one season,
Spider-Man.
which actually I really enjoyed that Spider-Man, and actually I thought Neil Patrick Harris did a fantastic job as playing Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was early in the NPH Renaissance.
Yes.
Just starting to come back a little bit.
But it's so true. Like I kind of take everything where I've grown up with certain superheroes. Like there was I think my first introduction cartoon-wise was the old Fletcher Superman cartoons, which are very well drawn. Very artistic, very just Superman and stuff. And then you moved on from that, and then you got the Spider-Mans in the '70s and the Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, and I got to pretty much get to watch everything kind of evolve, so you do kind of appreciate things. But when you're just growing up right now, you have access to everything because everything's online, and you can literally pick and choose and be like, no, this one sucks, oh, this one's great, this one's awesome, and it's just so crazy that how superheroes are now the norm. Back in our day, we'd be like, oh my god, they're making another Batman, and you're just all now they're we get a Batman every year now.
And it's even the obscure characters are getting heavy coverage.
Yes.
Like I said, huge Green Lantern fan my whole life, and the only Green Lantern I had for the majority of that time was old episodes of Super Friends.
That's true, yes.
Because he was on nothing until the Superman animated series. Kyle appeared in 1 or 2 episodes, and I lost my mind. It was so cool. And then they put John into the Justice League, and it was all of a sudden there was oh my, they realized they've got other characters. Hooray!
Yeah, no, it was true.
Now they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere.
So it's and now people jumping on with Arrow, going oh, there's an actual character like this. It's we've known about Green Arrow forever, and it's just and then people now getting into even with Flash has been around forever, but not too many people realize about Flash until this new CW show came out.
Yeah, and it's so good.
Oh my god, it's so
It
good.
is.
But that's another thing is we can pick and choose now. We can complain about DC movies while loving DC TV because we have that choice to make. We don't have to just swallow down the one because it's all we're gonna get, man. This is the best.
You
we
can
do.
bitch about S.H.I.E.L.D. because you've got all these other
Right.
things that you're enjoying
Yeah.
more than S.H.I.E.L.D. maybe.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier today. I would be way less hard on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if it was the only thing out right now. But because we've got Arrow and Flash and Daredevil and all of this stuff, Agent Carter, there are so many choices for genre television right now. It's easy to feel like you can go ahead and pick apart the flaws. I don't have to watch this show with my eyes half closed and just pretend to enjoy it because I know it's all I'm going to get.
So it's a fascinating time to be growing up. And
Yeah.
I think it's this is our time as people who love comics, people who create comics, to try and bring in all these new fans that are loving this stuff and be and this is the source material. And it's honestly the time of the source material, Marvel, DC, or really whatever it is that it's built off of Walking Dead, to be fabulous. Because you want to make those lifelong fans. The TV, the movies, and all that kind of stuff, that's the gateway drug.
No, it really is. No, like these, everybody having like you have pretty much so much access to stuff now. I mean, back in the day, we'd be so happy where if they would even mention, like it'd be a superhero show and they would just mention all like, oh yeah, I know Superman or something like that. You just be like, oh my God, he said his name. They don't even have to show him.
Yeah.
Like we would just lose our minds on
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or you get shows and they would put everybody in plain clothes and do like as little superhero-y stuff, as little comic book stuff as they could possibly get away with.
Now, to be fair, when Lois and Clark was out, it was not nearly the either effects budget or just the effects capability.
Well, that's true. That's true. But, Trial of the Incredible Hulk, you didn't have to go out of your way to make Daredevil as un-Daredevil as you could make him. You could have gotten away with pushing things. There's certainly stories you could always have done that were just street level things. You could have done a Luke Cage show at any time and made it work. They chose not to because they thought comics were hokey and that the audience was too small and that general audiences would never go for that stuff just because it was comics.
Speaking of which, yeah, no, that's like a big, big thing now. Now, even like with the whole run with the Daredevil show, like kind of going away from, like making it a little bit more gritty, more darker, like you're kind of getting more of the adult fans involved now, going kind of like, oh, I thought Marvel was just for kids or for super comic booky stuff, but you can actually kind of watch Daredevil and not really feel like it's comic booky, but more of it just kind of telling like a story. And then it does kind of build up to that part where it's like, oh yeah, now he's in the costume, and that whole thing can start, in the next season as well. But just even the building and the pacing of that, because they had like so much time to explain a story within 2 hours of a movie, like you literally like spread it out so you actually care about these characters, get to know these characters, and be like, oh, okay. And then if something happens, you're just like, I was invested in this. What happened?
Well, it struck me when I was watching the new Avengers movie that there's a scene towards the end where Vision and Thor and Iron Man fly out and shoot all their different laser beams and lightning bolts at Ultron. And it's like the most comic book thing I've almost ever seen on film. But it occurred to me when I was watching, I was like, that is so straight out of a comic. And they have spent all of this time with all of these movies slowly walking us up to that point. From the time you had the first Iron Man, they have slowly been layering in more comic bookness. And Arrow did the same thing. The first season of Arrow was very much like Batman Year One kind of thing. He was just he was a vigilante who happened to use a bow and arrows. And slowly over the seasons, they added more comic-y things to the point where we've got the Flash spinoff, you've got a guy in a power suit flying around,
There's a lot more that people will accept
Yes.
over time if you move them into that headspace.
Yep.
And so the more you get points with the simple stuff, the more you can use those points later on.
To cash in and do some bigger things.
Exactly.
I will accept that you have Captain Cold on your show because you spent a couple seasons explaining how society has acclimated to the idea of costume vigilantes at all. I will accept that Arrow is, waging these crazy fights with secret assassin guild things because you build up to that. You gave me little bits along the way so that I'm so... It's like the spoonful of sugar thing. You mix a little bit of the sugar in, and the sugar being like normal, real life stuff. And it makes it easier to drink the medicine of the comic. This is a really crappy analogy because the medicine
This is because the medicine's supposed to be the other stuff,
Yeah,
Mr.
right.
Withers.
Anyway, you start with a slow mixture, and over time you can use less and less and less, and next thing you know, you're perfectly fine with it.
No, that is true, and that's what I think. Like they're trying to do, where they're like everyone being a comic book fan, we'd be fine if Daredevil showed up, boom, he's in the outfit, we're like on board. But if you're trying to get like an audience who is not even into comic books or have nothing to know about comic books, you kind of want to build into that. And then they're like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, because they'll be like, why is he running around in a red suit? It's dark out. People could see red like right off the bat. Why is he blind? I don't get this. Ah!
There was some precedent for that. I mean, it's pretty much straight up the Daredevil Year One-y kind of, what's the Frank Miller thing he did? Born Again? Not Born Again.
No.
Man Without Fear.
Yep.
The Man Without Fear miniseries was almost exactly that, the black tracksuit with a bandana. So, it had some comic roots. And for these characters, it still makes sense. And this is something that I think we as comic people can forget. And it's something that Comfort and I constantly have to keep in our minds when we're writing our stuff is this something that actually makes sense in a quote-unquote real-world situation? Or is it something that we just accept because we read comics so much that it seems normal?
Is it comic logic?
Yeah.
Or is it logic?
Exactly.
And so you're asking yourself those things, and then sometimes you have to have some comic logic because you have to be like, well, we just have to get from point A to point B, but you are very careful. You pick and choose, taking that time. Again, I bring it all the way back. It's taking that time to make something that's not just good, but it's great. With Uniques right now, when people go and look for Uniques, it's only going to be the first issue because right now we're doing an extended director's cut because Rainbow in the Dark did so well and got so much acclaim. Those Harvey Awards are for Rainbow in the Dark. And so we needed to make sure that Uniques could live up to the work we did on Rainbow. So when Uniques goes out into stores later this year in its first extended director's cut trade as a re-release, it can live up to that same thing. And that's the thing about taking time.
There were a lot of reasons for doing the Uniques director's cut. And one of them definitely was making sure that it was elevated enough. The other was when we started self-publishing, like we said, there's a risk. There's a huge risk. We had no idea how long we'd be able to keep doing this. We didn't know if we'd get 3 issues in, be out of money, and have nothing to do. So we felt a lot of pressure to hurry along and get to the good stuff, as it were. And so those early issues there's a lot of things that got rushed. There's a lot of things we really wanted to do that we didn't take the time to
and
do.
There's a lot of things we didn't know how to do yet because we weren't there as creators.
Right, because we weren't able to learn on, somebody else's project who had all their stuff figured out. We had to figure it out all on our own. There were growing pains. There were things that we considered missed opportunities, ways in which we felt like we had to just hurry it along. And now that we know that we can keep doing this a while, and we know that people will be along for the ride, we feel like we can finally make the opening of this story what we had wanted it to be in the beginning, but either didn't know how to do or didn't have the time to do properly when we had that chance.
And that goes back to, even other people listening to this, or you guys or whatever, there are going to be things that you start and you stop, and it's not always going to work out perfectly the first time. And being that not just good but great creator sometimes means going back to things, sometimes means revisiting some things, sometimes means dropping things because they just don't work at all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things we talk about a lot in our seminars we talk about a lot in the how-to book we've got coming out. It's the kill your darlings idea. There's no scene you can write, no line of dialogue, there's no character you can create that is so great that it's worth keeping them if it hurts the story. We had a whole character in Rainbow in the Dark that we cut from the story because we started to realize while we loved the character and he was a whole lot of fun, he didn't actually have an arc at all or go anywhere or really add much of anything. He was just like a fun, funny character to write. And by cutting him out and giving his bits to the other characters, all the cast members who actually had important roles in the story got more time, were able to do more, were able to be more important and have more of an impact on the audience and on the story. And, it just made everything better. But we had to be willing to cut somebody we really liked in order to do it.
Heavy thoughts.
No. That's the first time I ever heard about anybody actually cutting like a character that you actually enjoyed and then realizing like, you know what, this guy does not have a story arc. We need to get rid of him, and then just kind of splitting up his one-liners or lines and stuff like that to another group of other characters and stuff like that. So I mean, I guarantee it probably can't be a very easy decision to just be all like, he's gone. What happened? Plane crash. like you. Well, I have to.
Written out of the world
He was written out
overall. It was
entirely.
never ever there. But I think a lot of writers do that, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, the difference between the time that it took to write and create the first season of Uniques, and then going through Rainbow and taking those lessons we learned from Uniques into Rainbow, and now taking the lessons we've learned from Rainbow and bringing them back to Uniques.
Yeah.
And so it was just, it's that time, and you don't usually hear about that, but it happens where sometimes you're looking at your stuff, you've got something you love, and it's awesome, but you have to ask yourself those big questions, like, is it holding the story back in some way? And
The
if
story
it
is more important than anything.
right, if it is, you have to be a big enough person to, first of all, know that, and to know that for sure, and then to be willing to bite the bullet and do it. And it doesn't mean that that character's lost forever. Maybe we'll use that character in another thing. Or maybe we'll use a lot of those bits in other characters. Here's another interesting thing for Uniques, is that I had a story, which was Uniques, when I was growing up. And Adam had a story, which was called Masks, when he was growing up.
This is one of the great things about comics is I bet, I have no statistics to back this up, but I would be willing to bet that a vast majority of kids who start reading comics will immediately start making their own comics.
Or even start thinking of stories in their own head.
They come up with their own characters. Even if it's like you create your own X-Man to be at the Xavier School. Every kid, like, it inspires imagination. Comics are just powerful, powerful creativity generators for anybody, but especially for kids. So yeah, both of us created whole worlds of characters, whole casts of characters, and I eventually refined mine into this one story. And we always intended that we would start with Uniques because it was a more accessible, yes, good word, a more broadly accessible story, we felt, and an easier thing to start with because Masks was a little heavier. But shortly within the beginning of having made the Uniques, we started realizing that the two are frankly just too similar. That if we managed to finish Uniques, which is an enormous series, but if we were to finish it and then do Masks, people would be like, well, why are you just doing Uniques again? But like slightly different. So instead of holding on to the two concepts, I had to let Masks go, strip mine it for all of the best ideas and characters, and merge that into Uniques so that we can have one series that is the best of all of these worlds. So there are several characters in Uniques, like the character Virtue, to a large extent the characters of Ghost and Scout, and a lot of just general concept things that are going to happen with characters like Kid Quick. These are all from Masks, but they've been changed and adapted, and in some cases applied to different characters. So the storylines and the things that I was so excited about with Masks, I'm still going to get to do. I'm just doing them in a different form, in a different place, and in some cases with different characters that share.
And really, at this point, we both, and this goes to just other people too, making their stories with other people. You have to be willing to share your stories. You have to be willing to some degree give up your ownership and allow other people to start playing with your toys.
Well, that's what a collaboration is.
Yep.
If you're not doing that, you're not really collaborating. We did freelance for a long time, and we worked with a lot of people who are big on the word collaboration when it means they get to have a say about what we're drawing. But as soon as we have suggestions for what they're writing, oh, no, hold on now. You don't get to do that. You're just the artist. So they didn't really want to collaborate. They just wanted to control. But a collaboration means that Uniques isn't just Comfort's idea anymore. It's ours. It means that Masks isn't just my thing that I'm going to hold on to for someday. It means that my best ideas, everything I have that can make Uniques better, has to go into that book. Comics is a community, and good collaboration is a community process. There is no I, as corny as that sounds. And the best of me has to be part of all of this, or else I'm not doing my job, and I'm hindering everything, holding it back.
So, well said.
That's why you guys have us on your show.
Yes. Wouldn't have it any other way for our 50th episode. So, I know you guys go to a lot of conventions, and I don't even know if you guys may know this or not, but how many conventions do you guys go to in a year?
It fluctuates. There was a long time
Yeah.
where we were doing like 15 to 20 every year.
Now it's closer to 10 to 15. I think we're doing 17 this year.
Okay.
It's a big one because
Yeah.
we're pushing the how-to book. It's the big release. We literally wrote the book on self-publishing comics, and we want to make sure people know about it. So we're doing a pretty big tour this year.
Also, we're guests of a lot more shows than we used to be. So there'll be shows that will pay our way and stuff like that. So those are some of the perks of doing this for as long as we have. You guys have to understand, we've been in Artist Alley, been a part of Artist Alley at cons since 2003.
Oh, wow.
Time we had like print and a like little college publication that we did with the League of Sequential Storytellers, the comic club that we started in college. So it was like a whole very different thing than what we do now.
But it's a long time to have been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a while to get here, but you can get here.
Yeah.
You just have to stick it out for a long time.
Yeah, it's success is as much about endurance as it is about talent. There's not a lot of people who started when we started doing it the way we're doing it that are still around.
As a matter of fact, if we ever get like huge, like ginormously huge, you know what they'll say? Like, wow, these guys just showed up overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Instant successes, blah, 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 blah. They're not going to say we've been on Artist Alley and doing these things since 2003. Then they're not probably going to say that we've been right. Yeah.
They like the story. They like how it sounds. A very good friend of ours, Brian J.L. Glass, was the author of Mice Templar and Furious and another number of other great things. He was self-publishing in the 80s and early 90s, like in the first renaissance of the self-publishing era, and was working really hard and left comics. He quit. He walked away. He was done, and then came back in the late aughts with Templar, and about a year, I think, into Mice Templar, he wins the Harvey Award for Best New Talent, Most Promising New Talent. It was like his 20th year in comics. So,
oh, wow.
This is, you often hear the stories of like the quick success or the miracle lucky break, the Scotty Young stories or the Joe Madureira stories. He was working as a janitor at Marvel headquarters. He kept leaving his sketches in the wastebasket of the editor until one day, that kind of stuff. You hear those stories because they're good stories. But most of the time, the overnight success story is just the last chapter of a long book about how they got where they are. It's determination, it's drive, it's hard work, and it is endurance. And if you can have that, then you can have this.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Now, you guys, like I said in the beginning, you guys do pretty much everything for your comic book. What is your favorite part about creating the comic?
Oh, it's so hard.
My favorite part about creating comics is when people tell me that they really like our comics.
That's lovely.
Audience reaction. Honest to God, I do this. I make comics so that people can read my story, so that people can read our story. That's what excites me about this, is sharing what we do with others.
Is being the people that we loved when we were young and passing that on. Like some girl or something that came up and she was, she was like, what is the deal like with Quake from Unique?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, because there's this thing and the other thing, and something's going on with him, isn't there?
Right.
Like, wow, you may be picking up what we're putting down. I don't know. Keep reading. You know, like it's exciting. It's exciting to get people who care as much about what we're doing as we do. And for so long, that just didn't really happen because nobody knew what we were doing. But you know, the response we got to Rainbow in the Dark, and the response we got to Uniques when Mark Waid became such a booster for us and such a vocal supporter of us, that was a huge deal and hard to believe. You know, Mark Waid is one of the people that I can point to as here's why I write comics. Not just draw them, but here's why I write stories. And to have him being such a vocal supporter of us, it's enormous.
Right.
So,
well, when we started doing the how-to book and we knew we wanted to have people who did sidebars about various subjects, Mark Waid was one of the first people. He was one of 4 people who signed on to just do something for the hell of it.
Yeah.
When it was still in the early
Just
production.
as a pitch.
Yep, just
You
as
know,
a pitch.
He gave us a full sidebar for the book to help our pitch so that we could get the thing sold to Random House.
Right. Now,
So it's things like that. Things like that are what I love.
very quickly, I'm going to say I love the process of coming up with the story. Like, I really, you know, I cannot not draw, you know, and I love coloring, I love writing, but I love the process of taking walks with Adam and bouncing stories back and forth off of each other and figuring out what's going to happen. Like, the magic of when you come up with an idea that you're like, that's really good.
Yeah.
That works. Like, just the other day, like, and it can be weird too because I came up with an idea recently for what will be Unique Season 2. And I came up with it, and it was just a spur of the moment thing, and it was in the car driving back from Free Comic Book Day. And Adam initially did not like the
I was
idea.
very against it.
Very against it.
I was very concerned about this thing and did not know if it would be a good idea. But it stuck in my head, and I kept thinking about it.
And so we both came back to it, and we were
2
like,
days later.
what about? And then worked it out, and that ended up being like a big key for
It's going to be
something.
like a linchpin of
Right.
the entire second season of the story.
And it's just off of a thing that, you know, you randomly come up with. You know, even Adam came up with something today, like there's a book that we both love called The Law of Superheroes.
The Law of Superheroes. And anybody who likes thinking about real-world ramifications of comic-y stuff, The Law of Superheroes is an amazing book. It's written by a couple lawyers who are also major comic nerds and excellent people. We've had the good fortune of getting to meet them. And one of our favorite books. It just goes through and addresses the legal ramifications of different comic book stories and concepts. Like Batman and Robin, would that be child endangerment? What are the constitutional ramifications of a Mutant Registration Act? Or the Keene Act from Watchmen that just outlaws superheroes entirely. Things like that, those kinds of questions. The idea of is having superpowers a Second Amendment issue? Is using a telepath to verify the truth of a statement of a witness on the stand an attack on their Fifth Amendment rights not to incriminate themselves?
So the point is that book is awesome.
It's awesome, and every time we're reading it, we're getting new ideas for stuff.
Right.
You know, the idea, we just had a great one today that will make no sense to anybody because it's so far down the road in the story that it's totally irrelevant right now, but it has shaped a whole section of what the story is going to be later on. So that is a fun process.
Coming up with the stories, like getting the feedback and coming up with the stories, that's probably the most rewarding and fulfilling things that we do.
I also will say that I think I appreciate more the process of writing than the process of drawing. And I think it's because I've always... When you're a person who draws and has drawn for a long time, odds are, and I bet a lot of your listeners might have had this experience, because almost everybody I know in art has had this experience. You were the person who drew in your class, right? There's the one guy in class who's the artist, and I was always getting, as a kid, like those fake made-up kind of awards where you can tell they want to give everybody something. So they'd have the perfunctory Best Artist Award just so that I'd get something. And it's like, I'm the only one here who draws anything. I didn't earn this. You're just giving it to me. And it made it feel even less special. So, like, the quality of my art has never felt particularly valuable to me because it was just always something I did.
It was never in question.
It was never, yeah, it's just something I do. And there's so many people that I like their work way better than mine. So I'm just not as drawn into my drawing.
I like your work.
I know, and I'm not saying I'm no good. I'm just saying I get way more excited looking at other people's stuff than I do looking at mine. And yet, my writing, when I'm writing and when I'm talking about writing and when I'm in the writing process, I am much more engaged with that. Like when we finished Rainbow, the saddest part about being finished with Rainbow in the Dark is I really loved writing Donna and Raina together. Writing their scenes, their interactions, the dialogue with them. I love writing dialogue. I love writing characters. That's probably the most fun for me that I have in the actual process of making the book.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I can at least speak from experience. I can definitely tell you right now, my least favorite is probably flatting, even though it's probably the only thing I have done. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I do enjoy flatting. It's just those damn leaves.
Goddamn leaves. For those who don't know, Kyle will, from time to time, do flats for us. And not just flats for pages, he'll do it for pinups, too.
Yeah.
And I love getting Kyle flats back for, like, pinups because you're like, he has really researched what the actual comic colors of all these characters are.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're like, ugh, we got to change this because, like, I remember Kyle flatted, I think, the Justice League.
Yep.
We're like, holy cow, they all have blue eyes. Got to change this.
Do something to give some variety here. How many black-haired, blue-eyed characters can you have?
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember doing that. I remember the big spread that you guys did in Rainbow in the Dark.
Oh, good God.
So many people in there, and I'm doing it. I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like Cyclops right there in the very background.
What?
We will, from time to time, throw in little things in the backgrounds to keep ourselves entertained while we're drawing, because as much fun, in quote marks, quote unquote fun, as you have flatting massive crowd shots, it is just about that entertaining to draw massive crowd shots. So we have to find something we can do to keep ourselves involved so it doesn't just become a total brainless exercise.
And I must say, we appreciate that flatting,
We
Kyle.
do.
Well, it's been a while since I've done it, so if you guys ever do need anything else, just let me know.
Well, yep,
Flats, color separations, it's the first stage of coloring a comic page. It is the process of very simply just selecting every area and filling it in with a color. It is giving you base tones to work with for the rest of the color
and all comics do this.
Yes,
but
all colorists use them.
Right.
Nobody ever gives them any credit.
So we make sure to always give our Fightin' Flatsmen credit in our books because it's important to let people know that others took the time to help us out.
Yeah, it's something that we pointed out because it is something that sticks in our craw a bit, that there are a lot of people in comics who do not get credit for their work they do. And there's a lot of people in comics who get exclusive credit for work that they did not do alone. And that's not to diminish the accomplishments of some of these people. They're very good at what they do. But I think that in the first place, it's not fair to the other people working hard on these projects not to get the credit for the work they've done. In the second place, I think it paints an unfair image to aspiring creators who think that they'll be expected to single-handedly perform this job when the truth is nobody is single-handedly performing that job. You know, and they're feeling discouraged, they're feeling unsure, and editors will sometimes treat them as though they're expected to do this whole thing. There's a lot of times pencilers will show samples, and the samples you show are expected to be like tight, finished, clean lines. But no penciler draws that way professionally. You'd never have the time. That's what an inker does for you. So, but if you were to show an editor unfinished raw pencils, they would say, well, this isn't nearly tight enough. You got to be cleaner, kid. And then once you get the job, they tell you, don't be so clean. You got to get these done faster. So it's just creating these unfair expectations, and it's discouraging a lot of people, and it's painting an image that's just not accurate of what the job is, what it really entails. And we wish that there could be more transparency, is what I'm getting.
We have a way of taking a long road
Sometimes,
to get to any answer.
But it's the
Yeah.
journey, really.
No, you guys are fine. I think that's actually all of the questions we had. Steve, you got any questions for him?
No, actually, I think we covered a lot of stuff. I actually appreciate. I could tell you guys are creative because you really did. You really gave us like basically not just like these little like. No, I like drawing, so I decided to do comic. But yeah, so I guess before we let you guys go, I guess if you want to go ahead, where can people, if they want to follow you on Twitter, they want to follow you on, if you have a Facebook page or anywhere they can find any of your stuff, go ahead and plug away.
As a matter of fact, the one place you can go and you can find all of this stuff and links to everything is comfortandadam.com.
Your one-stop shop for all things Comfort and Adam. You can get all the links to our Twitter, our Tumblr, Facebooky stuff. All that is there. You can download the first issues of Rainbow and Uniques completely free to read.
You can get Rainbow in the Dark on Amazon. I think it's like 25% off or something like that there.
Solid
Or
numbers.
at your local comic store.
Support your local shops.
Right. And I'm
How-to
forgetting.
book.
Thank you. Our how-to book.
Guide to Self-Publishing Comics releases May 19th. It's available for pre-order on Amazon right now. They've still got it, and they're still offering a pretty good discount on it, so you can grab it there, and it'll ship to you as soon as it releases. And there's more Uniques coming very soon. We are drawing pages for Uniques right now while we're talking to you. So everything in process, always more to come.
Very awesome.
Well, thank you for having us, you guys.
Hey, thank you guys
being here.
for being here. Anytime you guys want to come back on, if you enjoy yourself, you're more than welcome to. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your hands. And as soon as this episode goes up, we'll go ahead and promote, put your website up and promote your book. And I look forward to checking this stuff out. I really do. I think this is a great idea. Awesome work. And apparently my cat now wants to join the podcast.
That's how it goes with cats.
Yeah, watch it there, cat. You're going to trip over everything.
Well, thanks, guys.
Well, thank you. All right, now it's just you and me.
Wow, that was a really in-depth interview. So
That was, yeah.
that was
I'm happy
awesome.
about that.
I'm glad you got that going.
Yeah, I've been wanting to have him on the show since I first started the podcast, but I'm like, let me just save this. I'm going to save this just in case for rainy day or something. I'm like, you know what? It's the 50th anniversary. Let me see if I can get them on for a 50th, and it just worked out perfectly.
Hi, Toby. How are you? You joining the podcast now?
Oh, hello.
What's that? What's going on?
Well, we'll try and get through the comic book and movie/TV news. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, I am currently on Team DC right now.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I'm very actually kind of surprised. So,
Well, let's start off with all the things that Marvel has to say.
okay. Well, I know Marvel. You sent me a story during the weekend about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yep,
and
they
I was.
were-
Now, I'm curious. I'm curious about this move. Is this basically just to be like, "Hey, Fox, F you, we're taking our
Yep.
characters back," and they're not
Yep, it's exactly what they're doing.
awesome? Hold on, you keep going. My cat decided it'd be fun to knock over my water.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, he's kinda
Basically,
being
basically what we're talking about here is that Marvel has decided to say that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch never were mutants to begin with. And I know what you're thinking, like, how the hell is that possible? Well, apparently they were experimented on when they were babies, and it gave them, like, these superpowers that, I don't know, whatever, and so the being that gave them the powers put them back on Earth, where everyone just assumed that they were mutants, but come to find out, they never were.
So does that mean they're no longer the siblings of, or their father is no longer Magneto?
I don't think they ever. I don't think they ever were, or something like that. Let's see here. It turns out the twins' parents were always Django and Maria Maximoff. But instead of being born mutants, thanks to parentage from Magneto, they were instead failed experiments of the High Evolutionary, a being obsessed with genetically perfecting the human race beyond their current form after giving himself superhuman intelligence and abilities through genetic experimentation. So, basically, Marvel wants to keep Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and it also has to do with what they're doing with the X-Men, which is another story. The Marvel is basically kicking the X-Men and all mutants off of planet Earth after Secret Wars.
Really?
Yeah, so basically from what I've heard is they want to start integrating the Inhumans as the mutants of the Marvel Universe, since that's what they're doing with the movies. So apparently Terrigen Mists or whatever are on the planet now, and apparently now it's poisonous to mutants.
Huh. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is basically the Marvel movie company is basically doing a huge power play right now to just kind of screw over the other movie franchises?
Yes, that is exactly what they are doing.
That's kind of a dick move.
Exactly. And then, let's see here. What else do we hear from Marvel? In comic book, movie, and TV news, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spinoff did not get picked up by ABC, so we will not be getting a Mockingbird spinoff, which kind of sucks, but hopefully they'll keep her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter got another season.
Okay, which I thought was weird because I really thought Agent Carter was only going to be a miniseries.
I think a lot of people did, but apparently not, because it apparently had good ratings, so we're getting a second season, which I'm enjoying.
No, I have no problem with that either. I think that's a great thing. So that's at least one thing. That's one thing so far Marvel has done correctly right now with renewing those two shows.
Another thing that they did was they've added 2 more characters to the Captain America Civil War movie.
Okay.
Ant-Man.
Oh, yes, I did hear about that.
And Thunderbolt Ross, the general from the Incredible Hulk movie.
Now, is it going to be, who was it? Was it William Hurt?
Yep, William Hurt is reprising his role as Thunderbolt Ross.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
So, let me just break this down to you as to who's actually in this movie so far. We got Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, the Vision, War Machine, the Falcon, the Winter Soldier, Agent 13, also known as Sharon Carter, which they haven't actually said her last name yet. Crossbones will be in it.
Oh.
No word on Thor, Hulk, Nick Fury, or Maria Hill, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Fury and Maria Hill do make a cameo. Apparently the villain will be Baron Zemo.
Okay.
I know, where's the other one? Also getting Black Panther in the movie. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Also, rumor had it was, are we getting the Spider-Man?
Yes, Spidey's going to be in it too. So, I mean, this movie is just going to be chock full of superheroes. It's more than Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah, so now this is like, basically, this is like a big, because this is going to be a big turning point for the Marvel Universe when it comes out next year.
Because this is going to be the start of Phase 3.
Yes. All right, well, I'm on board right now. I think it's kind of weird, though, that I did hear rumors, though, that, like, Mark Ruffalo is not going to be in this movie as the Hulk.
Yeah, no idea what's going to happen with the Hulk right now. I know we'll see him in...
Infinity War.
Yeah, we'll see him in Infinity War, 'cause he's still got part of his contract, at least 4 more movies to do. So that's part 1 and part 2 of Infinity War, and then the 2 other movies could be anything. So we could see him in Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange may be trying to cure Bruce Banner from the Hulk. We may see him in Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe. I doubt that, but you never know.
Well, we all know we're going to get a huge Marvel mashup with the Infinity War anyways, because obviously Thanos is going to be breaking into a bunch of different, he's going to be going after Nova Corps, for the one gem, and Vision and so on and so forth. So, of course, I don't think Marvel is going to disappoint us with the movie aspect of we're going to have to see the Hulk lay the smackdown on Thanos at some point. So,
Now, here's the reasons why I am actually Team DC for this week, which never happens if anyone truly knows me.
don't get me wrong, you do enjoy some DC comics and stuff like that, but I know you for a fact, just even talking with you and how long we've been doing this, you've been Marvel is your go-to. If you had a choice to be on a desert island with the entire DC collection or the entire Marvel collection, you're going Marvel.
Oh yeah, definitely. So basically, and my computer is now popping up ads, even though AdBlock's supposed to stop that. Thank you, AdBlock, for doing your job. Anyways. So in Justice League issue number 40, they announced that basically the entire history of DC Comics is officially canon. From pre-Infinite Crisis to post-Infinite Crisis to even the New 52, it's all canon.
So basically, was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago, maybe, when they finally came out and said, yeah, everything you know and love about the DC Universe is gone. We're rebooting it with New 52. And now they're turning around and going ha-ha, kidding, here you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what it is. Apparently, from the perspective of Metron, who's part of the New Gods, and as you find a little bit later in the book, the perspective of the Anti-Monitor, and possibly some of the other New Gods, the pre-Crisis universe happened, Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, 0 Hour happened, Infinite Crisis happened, Flashpoint happened, and it's all been one universe, breathing in and out, exploding, imploding, renewing. There is finally a character whose observance is the same as the readers, and if the New Gods have observed all these reality restrictions, it puts a very different spin on them as well. So basically what they're saying is, hey, sorry we screwed you over so many times, but don't worry, everything's still canon. You can still go back and read your old issues and not have to worry about them not mattering anymore.
Ah, okay, well, that's very good of you, DC, for realizing what you did wrong there.
And finally, the Flash and Arrow spinoff did get picked up, and it has a name for itself. It's called DC's Legends of Tomorrow. And they're actually calling it DC's Legends of Tomorrow. So
wow, okay. Now, this will probably... I'm guaranteed DC, since they're doing very well with their TV stuff, I guarantee they're going to be introducing a lot more superheroes, and this is probably a good way to do it.
I'm trying to see here. They also had a description for it, but here we go. There's a description for it called When Heroes Alone Are Not Enough, the World Needs Legends. Having seen the future, one he will desperately try to prevent from happening, time-traveling rogue Rip Hunter is tasked with assembling a desperate group of both heroes and villains to confront an unstoppable threat, one in which not only is the planet at stake, but all of time itself. Can this ragtag team defeat an immortal threat unlike anything they have ever known? I'm sold.
Yeah, no, I'm looking. This is why I need to gear myself up and do everything I need to do to catch up with Arrow during the summer, to finally start watching the Arrow, and then also now jumping into this new thing. Now, do you think with them seeing the entire the one guy seeing the future, coming back to try to prevent it, some of that, do you think that has anything to do with maybe even with the Flash?
I don't know. But from the sounds of things, it looks like he may be bringing back the original Black Canary from Arrow, who died in the beginning of season 3. So it would make sense because she's supposed to be in the show, and no one's figured out how. But it looks like he may actually just like pull her like straight. He may actually like save her right before she dies. So this way, everyone assumes she's dead. And yeah, not fully sure yet, but
Excuse me. I was dying of cancer.
it's okay. I know for did you watch Flash last week?
Yes.
Oh my God, Gorilla Grodd!
I'm so caught up on the Flash right now. I'm honestly have no idea where everything's gonna go, but Gorilla Grodd, I think they did phenomenal. Little hidden bit. So the one general guy came back.
Yep.
And if people don't know this, I had to tell people because I saw him something prior to seeing this. So the guy who plays the general in that is actually the voice of Mr. Krabs.
Yes.
On SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I knew that before I saw the show because I watched this great documentary. If you haven't checked it out, I Know That Voice. And he does that on it as well. But yeah, great. I loved it. It was actually kind of cool because it actually threw me for a loop for a little bit in that episode where it shows the thing. The guy shows up basically in this body armor, ready to rob some stuff, and I literally thought it was Gorilla Grodd. Like kind of posing as like a human and stuff like that. And then when they catch him and they throw him in the thing and it was the general guy, I was like, oh, dude, okay, so they are doing the mind control stuff. And even the little helmet that Cisco makes for Barry Allen to battle him, I thought that's like right out of the comic books, looked exactly like that.
Definitely.
Like they did such a good job with that. For having no big budget for like a computer generated gorilla, I think they did a fantastic job.
It was amazing. Now, did you see the previews for technically this week's episode?
No, because when you watch it on Hulu, they don't give you previews.
Oh.
So
well, I don't know if you've seen, they've shown clips of it and whatnot, but basically Barry is getting ready to face the Reverse Flash, and he's like, he's basically just like, you and what army is going to stop me? He's like, oh, I brought some friends. And you see like Firestorm fly down, and you see like the Green Arrow just jump down, and he's like, and then Reverse Flash is like, oh, this is going to be fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, it looks great.
And is that their last episode or their second to last episode?
Second to last episode. The very last episode, I think, is actually going to be like a spin-off thing for the Legends of Tomorrow, because from what I've heard, Hawkgirl and a few of the other characters are actually going to be in the episode next week.
Oh man, dude, DC TV-wise, you were knocking it out of the park. Way to go, guys. Okay, well, I'm super excited for that. I will tell you this, though. I'm not caught up on it, but I started watching more episodes. I think I got to episode 5 of iZombie.
Nice. It gets a lot better in the last 2 episodes.
Okay, because this is the thing I'm having. They introduce another zombie in the second episode, and love that character. I know he's bad and everything like that, but then it came down to the point where I started watching more episodes, and everybody's a zombie. What are they doing?
I don't know what to tell you there.
Because I'm like, I want to keep watching it, but I'm like, don't tell me every week we're just going to be running into another zombie. I'm like, this is becoming like what, Vampire Diaries crap or...
Have you seen the skydiving episode?
Yes.
Okay. As of right now, he is the last zombie.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So no more.
For now, I mean...
Okay, well, I'm on... well, no, technically because it was him, but then there's the Asian guy in the police. Okay, I wasn't sure if you heard about him or not yet, but basically it more confirms that he is a zombie. And the last 2 newest episodes, a lot more gets discovered, and there's a possibility we may be getting another zombie. I don't know yet, because someone was experimenting with zombieism and may have gotten bit. Okay, but the thing is, I did see, it looks like iZombie did get renewed for a second season.
Yes, iZombie got renewed. Constantine did not.
Yeah, so I did want to talk about this. I will give props to Stephen Amell, the guy who plays Arrow, and everybody finds him very charming. And this is what I love. Like, I have no problem with this actor, in fact. Like, I heard him on a podcast. I think he's a great person, and stuff like that. But it's just the Arrow show that I just felt like everyone keeps saying it's getting better. Like I said, I am giving it another shot. So I will put all my stuff aside and just try to watch it and take it for what it is. And go from there. Now, I will put it this way. If I do catch up from season 1 to season 3 before season 4 starts, and I still don't like it, I will still watch the show to carry on the storyline and stuff like that, and I will try to keep my sarcastic, bitchy comments to myself.
No. I mean, it's good to have like a positive and a negative review for shows. I mean, obviously, we can't have any negative reviews for The Flash because it's just that damn awesome.
Yeah, I haven't found an episode that I really was like, I mean, there have been episodes that weren't that strong, but it's like how they ended it, you were just like, okay, I gotta watch the next one.
Exactly.
But back to Constantine. Yeah. With the Arrow, Stephen Amell actually said he wanted to do a crossover episode with that because technically they're part of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I don't know if they can do that, but I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah, no, I agree. I read his tweet when he first tweeted, and I was like, oh, shit, damn, he's really trying to save Constantine.
Well, he's just trying to save, I think, anything in, like, the DC universe. Because if you think about it, I mean, Christian Bale pretty much rebooted Batman for that time period and everything like that. And then, really, Steve Amell was pretty much the Kickstarter for the DC universe back onto the CW besides Smallville, basically. Because, I mean, how many years since Smallville ended that the Arrow then finally started?
Well, I mean, Arrow's not really a spinoff from Smallville. It's two completely different actors, completely different backstories and whatnot. But I think Smallville still had a part in it to help save. And honestly, if I had to say, I think it was maybe like 3-4 years ago that Smallville ended. I remember reading my Tom Hop about missing Smallville.
Which, again, that's actually a series that I would probably jump into now after seeing all these great shows on the CW and everything like that. So we'll see what happens. I still think NBC, or not NBC, but DC Comics, if you're smart, do the Daredevil route with Constantine. I think you could do such a better thing if you put it towards on Hulu, Netflix, any one of those other medias that you can basically kind of give it the time it needs. Because I'm like, Constantine probably could have been a really good show, but the only problem was it was on a really horrible time slot. It was like Friday night at like 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and literally, like, most people would, if they recorded it, they would watch it that weekend, but,
Well, I mean, and I've also heard, like, people say how they complain about how he's, doesn't smoke or anything like that in the,
in the show,
smoke. Yeah, so, I mean, if it was, like, on Hulu or Netflix, they could get away with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, after seeing Daredevil, what they did, you could totally do a great Constantine on that.
Agreed.
I mean, heck, you could do a great, Punisher, which I'm kind of worried what they want to do. Like, I heard rumor they want to do a Netflix Punisher, but then also Tom Hardy came out and said he wants to play the Punisher in a movie. Now I'm like,
well, why can't he play the Punisher in a Netflix series?
I don't see why not, but I don't know if he feels... see, there's actors who get to a certain point and they feel that doing a TV series might be below them.
Oh, please. I've seen Halle Berry, for example. She was huge in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Last summer, she tried doing a TV show.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
and what I'm about to say is I just saw her in a CoverGirl or some type of like makeup commercial. So she's actually gone backwards.
No, like I'm saying, like, nothing is wrong with that. I just feel that, like, me, I don't have a problem. Like, hey, you're getting work. To me, I just look at it as a marketing thing. I'm like, heck, if you're doing stuff for CoverGirl, you probably get a shit ton of makeup. You probably get, like, anytime your commercial airs, you get, like, a check for that, residual. So it's like, why wouldn't you do this kind of stuff? I just don't know. Like, knowing me, Tom Hardy would probably be like, yeah, I have no problem doing a Netflix series. Or even if he just be like, look, I just want to be in part of the Marvel Universe. Like, I can even just do a cameo as the Punisher in something. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, I know there's just certain actors who would say that they're like, I'm below this, or this is beneath me. I don't need to do it in a movie or whatnot. Yeah. But
so we meant to touch upon this last week, but we never did, and I realized that as I was editing, we never got to talk about my graded comic book.
Yes, actually, I figure since we've pretty much hit all the news we need to do, before we leave everybody, we can now talk about Kyle's issue of the first appearance
Of Deadpool.
of Deadpool,
And
which
I got a grading of 9.6, which is really freaking good if anyone knows grading, because the best you can get is a 10, and to get a 10, basically put the comic book when it comes off of like a printing press is already a 9.8. A 10 and a 9.9 are almost impossible. So a 9.6 is damn impressive.
So what Kyle's telling you, basically what you have to do is get a time machine, get the comic exactly right off the press, put it in a bag, and then travel through time and then sell it.
Exactly what I'm saying, because I've always dreamed of getting a time machine, going back in time to when Action Comics #1 came out, and then just taking it back with me, and it'd be amazing.
No, yeah, that would be freaking fantastic. So, I think that's awesome. Now, I don't know what I said it might be.
I think you said it was probably going to be like a 9.4, somewhere around 9.4.
I think I said lowest was 9.4, and I think highest. But then again, I was like, I don't know comics and how they do everything, and I think I went with a 9.7.
Okay, yeah. I actually dropped off. I actually went to a Richmond comic book convention this past Saturday. The grading people were there, so I dropped off some more of my books, and I dropped off my first appearance of Mysterio, signed by Stan Lee. Now,
Dang.
well, I'm not selling it. I just want it protected, basically. I want that book to be safe. I don't want it to be like damaged in anything. This way I know it's safe. I don't have to worry about it being bent or anything like that. I mean, I don't care what the grade is. I just want her protected, you know?
No. That's fantastic that you even have that kind of like, you know, that. Like I can't remember. Like I mean, like the newest couple of issues that I have are like a couple of ones I think that they're probably not in print anymore. You can probably get them in trade paperback, but nothing like too epic. Like it's not like I have Daredevil #3 or something like that. You know, it's like I have like the little short run of Civil War, which is probably worth something. Probably nothing like too crazy. I think there's this one short-run comic book that was done by Scott Kurtz, the creator of PvP and a few other things called Truth, Justin, and the American Way. I have those comics, and I forget what else I have. But yeah, most of the stuff that I have are trade paperbacks.
I mean, you know, that's understandable. I mean, like my Walking Dead stuff, like all my, at least like the first 50 or 60 issues are all trade paperbacks. I didn't start reading comic books until I didn't start getting the comic books until the 70s. Which, I mean, is good now because that's where the TV show is at. So I can actually start selling some of those books. Like, I'm expecting a character to show up in the show sometime next season. I sent that book off to be graded. So this way it comes back as a 9.8. I can sell it for quite a bit of money.
And then Kyle can finally rule the world with his money.
I'm not going to get that much money. eBay takes a cut too, so that's going to suck.
Kyle makes semi-amount of money.
Well, that's about it. You got anything else?
No, I'm spent. I think this is a great, super long episode. I hope the fans really enjoy it. I want to thank everybody who's been with us on this journey. Episode 50, again, could have not done it without Kyle, and Kyle being so on the ball with everything, getting guests, and just basically where Steve is just a lush. Kyle takes over and put everything you get. He really is the Captain America of our union here. Basically, like no. I would have to say Kyle's the boss. I'm the guy who just pays for everything and makes everyone look good.
Wait, you pay people?
I pay him in love.
Okay, look, you're quoting the Avengers movie. I'll give you that.
But yeah, no, I don't have anything to add. I'll just say if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Stephen Mooney Jr. Also on Instagram at S Mooney Jr. Of course, I just posted some nerdy stuff today on my Instagram.
the Simpsons Lego figures. Some woman at work was all like, "Here," and then I redid my gaming collection, which I actually just found a surge protector that I got to get from Best Buy. That I just realized this is how bad it is. I just realized the surge protector I have, which is pretty big, does not even hold. I still have like 2 systems I still need to hook up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I found one that's like 12 ports.
Mm-hmm.
That is at like I think I found it at Best Buy for like $17. So I'm like, I'm probably gonna try to get that. And then I just realized I need a switch thing for my a video and audio thing, so I can actually have the GameCube, the Super Nintendo, and the Nintendo hooked in as well. So yeah, I have realized I might have a gaming problem because I really was looking at all my stuff going like, I plan on getting a PlayStation 4, and I have no idea where it's gonna go. So
Hey, you know what? A gaming problem is better than a drug problem.
actually, no, I disagree. I actually said this today. I go, I'd rather be addicted to heroin because I'd be dead by now and I wouldn't have to worry about money.
Wow. Apparently, Longbox Cast supports drugs now, people. I'm kidding. We don't support drugs. We never
No.
support drugs.
Winners don't do drugs.
Apparently, they don't, and apparently, losers don't get sprinkles either. If you know what I'm talking about.
I played dark.
It's a commercial for Progressive Insurance.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways,
where can they find you?
well, you guys can find me on the Twitter at Deadpool_Ranger. You can also find us on the Instagram at LongboxCast. You can find us on Twitter at LongboxCast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheLongboxCast.
Very nicely done.
Yes. So, without further ado, do I need to say those magical words?
Which magical words are you going to say? Because we have two. Apparently, we have 2 closers now.
And you just froze on me. The very last second.
I'm
Oh, there you are. No, what would you say? Cause
I said we have 2 closing statements now.
We have 2 closing statements.
Yeah, we have the normal one, which was the one that you came up with, and then the other one was Longbox Cast. We'll do anything for money.
Actually, I have a third one.
Oh, you have a third one now.
Yes, because you said we're like the Avengers, so I'm going to say this. Avengers?
Friend, assemble the closing song. This is what you get, Kyle's has a big song. Oh! Sorry.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Do you really think anyone still listens to the end of this?
I hope they do, because they're going to get a... I don't know what they're going to get.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll put it this way. Kids, if you don't listen to the end of this stuff, like a Marvel movie, you're not going to get rid of your herpes.
Shit. That's how you get rid of them.
the look on your face after I said that was classic.
Awesome. I don't know how to get rid of them.
Thank you for joining us on our 50th episode. Join us next week for 51, where Kyle and Steve fight to the death. Dun, dun.
And if you're wondering how the hell we're going to do it, we're going to somehow reach through our computers like the Ring and just strangle each other.
Oh, I didn't think of that. I just thought it would just like battle each other on like a PlayStation game or something.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. We can do that too.
All right.
Fine. All right.
This has been another fine production of the 4i Radio Network. For more great shows, check out www.4iradio.com.
Assemble.